Hey, what's going on, guys? Brian with BizBaits here, and today we want to take a second and show you exactly how to rig our top water buzz toad called the Pad Daddy. So we have our Pad Daddy here. This color is in natural. It's our 5/0 frog hook with a large spring lock on it. So we're just going to take a second and show you how to rig this thing up. All right, so we're going to take our Pad Daddy, grab the spring lock with our other hand, and start threading it through the nose. When you do that, you're going to see there's this centering pin on it. It's going to help you kind of get that nose nice and center. And you're just going to start twisting this Pad Daddy onto the large spring. You really want to try to make sure you're getting the center part of that nose so it stays on nice and straight. And twist until that nose gets right to the hook point. All right. And now, when you have it straight, you're going to make sure the frog is belly down when you finished twisting. So in this case, the yellow color is belly down to your extra wide gap hook we have here. If it's not, just give it a little more of a twist so the shoulders are up and the belly's pointed down. The second thing we're going to do, now that you have that rigged up, is bring the hook naturally to the back of the frog and lay it to where it meets on the legs. Wherever that lines up, you're going to put your thumb kind of as a marking point, and that's going to show you exactly where you want to push that hook through. So you're going to come through the middle of the frog, right where your thumb is, where you marked that spot, and push the hook point all the way through. Make sure it's nice and centered. It's going to look like this. The last key point to make the Pad Daddy and have the Pad Daddy run correctly and run belly down, which is kind of the unique feature of this toad, is to make sure that after you do that, you slide the frog up and you maintain that rounded shape that that frog has on the bottom. So if you didn't line up the thumb correctly, you didn't get the hook point just right, maybe it was a little too short, it would actually create an upward bend in the frog where the shoulders are curved, and that's how you know you did not rig it correctly. So you want to have that belly maintaining that curve to keep the belly down. That's going to increase your hookup ratio for you. Awesome. So now we got our Pad Daddy rigged up with our frog hook, and you're ready to go fishing. So a couple things to keep in mind. We also get asked, like, how do you fish it? What gear do you use? And really, when it comes to fishing this thing, you're going to fish it around vegetation, lily pads, weeds. This thing is super weedless. It's going to stay belly down, you know, if you rig it properly like we just talked about. So just throw this around slop. The back feet are going to kick and leave a bubble trail. It's going to have a nice cadence to it, just kind of like a pop, 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 pop. And it's just meant to be a topwater toad, buzz toad. You're going to constantly reel it. That's the other thing we get asked a lot. So definitely, you know, keep your rod tip up. Slow reel, so those feet just keep turning and making that noise. If you stop reeling, the frog will slowly descend, and when you start reeling again, it'll come back to the surface. So it is meant to be reeled. Think of it like a buzzbait, where it's a constant slow retrieve to maintain that sound and keeping that toad on the top of the water. All right, so when it comes to gear, I mean, honestly, the heavier the better. So you're going to want to use, you know, a 7-foot, maybe even longer rod. But the key is, if you can and you're comfortable with it, using bait casting gear. Also, if you can, braided line. I mean, this type of technique with a single hook in vegetation with a frog like this needs to be pretty heavy so you don't miss fish with it. So 7-foot, heavy action rod, braided line, bait casting if you can get away with it. If not, don't worry, you can use the same type of stuff on a heavier spinning rod. All right, so you got this thing rigged. We've gone over the gear, where to throw this thing. But a really, really important thing around frog fishing and throwing a toad like this is the hook set. So you have that frog out there. It's really exciting. You get the blow up, and our instinct is to just set the hook as quick as we can, right? So it's like pop, 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 boom, and you're like, oh my goodness, and you set the hook. That's what you need to try to avoid, right? So you miss a lot of fish setting the hook instantly. When you get a blow up and you set it the second you get almost startled or nervous, we all get excited to just drive it home. So what you want to do is just make sure you try to hesitate. That frog is first getting pulled down. The fish is just getting a good bite of it. And you just don't want to rip the bait out right away. You have time. So what I do is I've gotten in the habit of, when I get that blow up, instead of getting nervous and oh crap, I actually do the opposite. So right, you lean forward, and when you lean forward, it gives your line slack instantly, and you have to catch up to that slack. So it does two things. One, it creates the pause, so you're waiting like you should, but two, you're getting yourself ready for the leverage to have the right hook set. So lean forward, catch up your line, clean up that slack. When the line gets taut because the fish still has the frog, then you set the hook as hard as you can, right? So when it comes to hook set, hesitate, lean forward, pick up your slack, and set the hook as hard as you can and drive that hook home for you. These are some tips for you. We get asked a lot how to rig the Pad Daddy, how to fish it. We just went through that, so you're ready to go. Take this buzz toad out there, have a bunch of fun. If you see lily pads, grass, whatever, buzz it around, and when you get a blowout, I mean, set the hook hard.